Hello, and welcome to the RPG Rundown. My name is Seth, and from dungeons to deep space, we've got the systems and stories for your table. As some of you may have noticed, I am flying solo tonight. Jeff unfortunately could not be here, but I am going to carry on, and we're going to have a fun episode tonight that I think many of you might be able to relate to. Maybe not everybody, but I think it's still important. And today, we're going to talk about 7 reasons you should play D&D, or more generally, TTRPGs, with your kids. These could easily be applied to grandkids, nieces and nephews, younger brothers and sisters, friends and their kids. You get the idea. Essentially, I think, as a father myself, that it's a great game to introduce to your kids, and we're going to get into why here. And though Jeff is not here, I'm not completely solo. If you're watching the video behind me here, I've got one of my loyal canine companions, Draper, sleeping on the bed. So you can enjoy a little bit of doggy camera if you're watching the YouTube video. Well, let's get into these 7 reasons, shall we? All right, so these are in no particular order, and I'm sure that there are more reasons out there to introduce kids to D&D or other TTRPGs. And I want to say that specifically, too, because a lot of times we call in a lot of TTRPGs, to those who don't necessarily play these kinds of games, it's easier for them to understand D&D. But there are so many other games besides Dungeons and Dragons. There are some that are even specifically geared towards children. And so we're not going to get into those necessarily, but you can always hit us up online or in the socials and ask us, and we're more than happy to give you some of our recommendations. But you can definitely play most of these. You can definitely tune them for a younger audience. But that said, let's get into these reasons, shall we? First, encourage creativity. Now, kids are way better than adults at pretending. Let's be honest. As adults, we kind of lose a sense of our wonder and excitement and playing pretend. And while some of us get really good at it as we go through, get better at, maybe playing tabletop RPGs, kids just, it comes to them naturally. And so we don't, we want to encourage that. We want to foster that creativity, and not just creativity with playing pretend, but, coming up with a character. What do they look like? Maybe have them draw a picture, help them, have the kids help you create the world. Ask them questions about what something looks like, and then make that part of the game. You'd be surprised how often they can come up with something that's way cooler or way far out there, further than what you might have thought of in your prepping for a session. So, it's encouraging creativity. We want kids to be able to feel like they can be creative in a multitude of ways. So, encourage that creativity. Second, reading comprehension, writing, and vocabulary. All of these kind of like grammar and speaking skills, they can come in very handy later in life from being able to learn them in a gaming environment. It also helps sometimes if they're very interested in the subject matter. If you have kids, or some kids, sometimes it's really hard to get them to read or study or learn new things. And if it's something that they're very interested in, it can be really easy to get them to read. Even the official, Wizards of the Coast has some like very kid-oriented Dungeons and Dragons books that are, kind of the half-size books. They have lots of pictures and they have brief descriptions of different things in kind of like D&D world. And those are great. My kids loved them when they were younger. But more than that, being able to read and comprehend what things mean if they have some sort of character sheet, being able to write clearly so that not only they know what they wrote, but you understand what they wrote and can read it. Being able to comprehend it, new words. I know one of the reasons why I feel like I have a pretty big vocabulary is because I read so many books growing up as a kid. And besides reading books, I would also read, games instruction manuals, whether it was for tabletop games or video games or, just consuming more of that can help and can help shape that reading comprehension. So there's some practical application for playing tabletop RPG games as well. Also, understanding rules is part of that too, being able to read and understand. So, next, teaching social interactions. Now, obviously, if it's just you and one child, there's going to be a lesser degree of social interactions. But getting a child or kids the ability to understand how they interact with a villager in a town can help them, as they deal with conversations, as they deal with conflict. Now, this may require a little bit of knowledge on your part on the proper way to handle such social interactions. And you can always look up, or ask for help. Like, how would, a character handle this situation? A lot of times we infer this from our own experiences, from books we've read, or the values that we want to instill in our children. But, being able to teach those social interactions, how to be respectful, how to talk to people they don't know, how to introduce themselves. Like I said, how to handle conflict, how to, speak in a setting with multiple people, not to interrupt. That's a big one with a lot of kids. Definitely mine, and mine are, older already. But, how to maybe, if you have multiple players, multiple kids, make sure you're taking turns, not interrupting. Listening skills, is part of that social interaction. So there are a lot of benefits that can come from this. And if you're watching the video, the next one is quality time. A lot of times it's easy to plan our fun, downtime as adults or as gamers and not include family or not include kids. It's vital for them to have quality time with you. Like I said, obviously if these are, if you're playing with your kids or if you're playing with like family that doesn't live with you, like nieces and nephews or something like that, grandkids, obviously that's going to maybe be a little, more important to get those that quality time together when you can. However, quality time is something that's very important. It's very important for the kids and it's important for you. I mean, when I game with my kids, they can be frustrating, but it's also a lot of fun. And they can surprise you. There can be a lot of laughter, especially if you're encouraging them to be creative and you're helping teach them, social interaction. And they're also just like playing pretend. Sometimes they can, give you some really fun and funny experiences. but quality time. And along with that, the next one is actually that sometimes it's easier to schedule with family. You know, the BBEG of all of our TTRPG campaigns is scheduling, right? And if you don't know what BBEG, it's Big Bad Evil Guy, right? So the Big Bad Evil Guy, the joke amongst D&D and TTRPG players is that the hardest part is scheduling time to get together. And so if you have, kids, it's kind of like, a lot easier to schedule time to spend with them than it is to try to balance the schedules of other adults, right? Kids don't have a job. They don't have, maybe they've got sports and other things, but if you're in the same house, especially with kids or brothers and sisters or grandkids, it's almost like you've got a party built in right there in your family at home. So scheduling could be a little easier. Let's see. Again, in no particular order, but number 6. Failure isn't the end. Okay? And this is something that I feel like is easy to say, but sometimes hard to convey. But if you have experience playing any TTRPG, hopefully you understand that sometimes the failure, the bad rolls that we get when we're trying to do something can make for the most fun. So not only is it fun, but it's also a chance to learn. A lot of times when you're playing board games with your kids, and if they get a bad roll or they, lose, in quote unquote, it can make them feel really bad. And they just want to quit and give up, right? Because they've lost the game. In an RPG, which is cooperative storytelling, right? It's the party, the players, and the DM working together. The DM isn't the bad guy. The DM is there to help navigate the story, guide the story, but he's not the bad guy. So it's cooperative. So failure in a TTRPG is often different in that you don't have to, it's not the end of the story. It's not, especially in an RPG setting, you may fail, but you may succeed in some other way. Some RPG systems, other than D&D, even have really cool mechanics where if you can fail positively, or you can succeed but have a setback. And so getting that kind of actual more real world idea of how things happen sometimes is important for kids to learn, that failure is not the end of the world. It's okay to fail. It's okay to learn from that failure, and it's okay to move forward. And so, sometimes it may take a little bit more creativity on your end in order to help them understand that. It may take patience to get them to calm down and realize that even though they got a natural 1, it's going to be okay. They're going to be able to move forward, and we can still have fun. So again, it's a challenge, but it's something that's definitely worth learning, not only as kids, but even as adults, that it's okay to fail, and it's something that we can learn from, have fun with, and move forward. And last but not least, it's a lot of fun. All right. If you can get a game going with your kids or with, younger players, it can be a lot of fun. The combination of all those things, the creativity, the social interaction, again, kids can just playing pretend comes natural to them, and it can be a whole lot of fun to play with them, to see the crazy off the wall ideas that they come up with, especially because they don't have the kind of adult logic or life experience that we think is so important, that sometimes they can be extra creative when it comes to offering solutions to a problem, whether it's a puzzle or combat, or even those are role play situations. It can be a lot of fun, and the more you play, the more fun it gets. At least in my experience, the more that I play TTRPGs, the more fun each one tends to be. So it's a little bit of a short one tonight, but those are 7 reasons to play D&D or a tabletop roleplay game with your kids. Okay? Encourage creativity, reading comprehension, vocabulary writing, social interaction, quality time, scheduling, learning how to fail, and having fun. So, I appreciate your time today. Like I said, it's going to be a lot shorter because I don't have Jeff here to discuss these fun topics, but I know that he fully agrees. As both of us, as dads, one of the things that we love to do is enjoy games like this with our kids. And we try to keep the podcast and a lot of the content that we create, even outside of the podcast, as family friendly, because family is so important to us. And so, again, I encourage you all, take these 7 reasons to heart and give it a shot. Find a little intro, adventure. Expect to have to, be flexible with the rules, especially the younger that your kids are. You're going to have to, give some allowances for those of you that are a little more stickler on the rules. But enjoy, and I hope that this is something that you absolutely take to heart. And we would love to hear about fun experiences of playing with your kids or playing with younger players. Let us know some of the cool, crazy things that they came up with, whether it's fun monsters or a really cool character or creative ways that they got out of a situation. We would love to hear it. So you can hit us up on the socials. Look for the RPG Rundown on pretty much any social media. If you are on YouTube, it's youtube.com at the RPG Rundown LTN. And that's the only place that it has the LTN. But that's because we are part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. You can find a whole bunch of different podcasts with Love Thy Nerd. Not just podcasts, but YouTube videos as well. Whether it's from board games to professional wrestling to pop culture, they've got a podcast or a video series pretty much for everything. But we love Thy Nerd, and we are happy to be a part of their group. So, with that, I'm going to come to a close. And like I said, a little bit of a short one today. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sticking around. Please give us a like and subscribe if you're watching the YouTube. Leave us a comment or a review on any podcast platform. And we look forward to chatting with you all next time. And Jeff should be back by then as well. So, thank you all. From our table to yours, thanks for joining the RPG Rundown. Until next time, may your rolls be epic and your stories legendary.